Hi, my name is Nick Dykes. I'm a financial aid counselor at the University of Oregon. If you don't know where to start with applying for financial aid, or if you're about to sit down and do a FAFSA or an ORSA and you want to make sure you do it right, this video will be helpful to you. We're going to go over the basics, and this is going to be information that's useful to you if you're interested in attending the University of Oregon, or really if you're interested in attending any other college or university, but especially one in Oregon. We'll have some Oregon-specific information here. So we're going to talk about the main applications for financial aid, which are the FAFSA and the ORSA. We're going to talk about the information that you need for these applications to make sure you can do it all in one fell swoop. We'll talk about frequently asked questions, and then we'll talk about applications for scholarships, which may be separate from these main applications for financial aid. Lastly, I'll talk about kind of where these applications fit in the process, what comes next, what else should be happening at various points in time. So the main applications for financial aid both become available October 1st of each year. And we recommend that you do them as quickly as possible. I'll mention a couple times in this presentation, schools have their own priority filing deadlines. So when is it due is going to be a question that's up to each school you're applying to. The University of Oregon's priority filing deadline is March 1st. That means that it's important to submit the FAFSA before March 1st of the year that you want to start at the University of Oregon to have the maximum eligibility to make sure that you're not counted out of certain types of limited financial aid. Additionally, the FAFSA needs to be done every year, or the ORSA in this case. They both look at the family's ability to pay for college, or the independent student, if you're an independent student, your ability to pay for college. And that can change from year to year. So you've got to do one each year. Now, if you're in high school, the first time you'll need to do a FAFSA is your senior year. You should do a FAFSA or an ORSA even if you don't think you have high financial need. Why? Because some scholarships require that you at least attest to your level of financial need, even if it's just one component of the scholarship, and you won't even be considered for that scholarship if you don't have a FAFSA or an ORSA on file. The other reason is that for the FAFSA, it gives you access to the best possible student loans. So even if you don't qualify for a lot of grant money, you can still get the best student loans that are available, and you might want to have that as an option. So I've been using these words, FAFSA and ORSA. What do these mean? The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. So it's free. You don't have to pay anybody to do it. You just go to the FAFSA website, which is studentaid.gov, complete this application. It doesn't take too long. It's got a lot of help along the way. And of course, we're here to help you if you need it. Additionally, this is the one for US citizens, permanent residents, and certain eligible non-citizens. So if you qualify for the FAFSA, this is the main application. This is the one that you should do to be considered for federal financial aid, state financial aid, and aid from the University of Oregon or whichever school you're applying to. Now, there's also the Oregon Student Aid application, and this is an alternative to the FAFSA. This is what you would do if you're DACA or a Dreamer, you're undocumented, and you don't have a social security number. So the state of Oregon allows you to do the ORSA so that you can still get that analysis of your ability to pay, and then the state can offer you financial aid as well as Oregon institutions. So you can do this one at oregonstudentaid.gov. Let's talk a little bit more about the FAFSA. The FAFSA is going to be asking for 2019 tax year information in order for you to start in the 2021 to 22 academic year. So it's asking for the information that is most current. Now, we know that situations change all the time, especially in a pandemic, for example. Lots can change. So the school has the ability to use more up-to-date information if 2019 no longer represents your ability to pay for college. And that's something you'd want to contact them about after you're admitted. But the FAFSA is going to look at a number of things. It's going to look at income, number of people in the household, how many of them are in college, number of factors, and it's going to calculate basically one number that is an approximate what you can contribute or may be able to contribute to college, and that's called an expected family contribution. Now, if possible, you should use the data retrieval tool on the FAFSA. That brings tax information straight from the IRS directly into the FAFSA, and there's a couple reasons you'll want to do that. One is that it'll save you time because you don't have to enter everything manually. The other is that it'll be more accurate. It'll be exactly what the IRS has on file. So there's a lot lower chance that a financial aid office is going to come back to you later on and say, hey, we didn't quite understand, or this doesn't make sense. Can you please clarify? And then you get into a process of submitting documents. So you can avoid that by using the data retrieval tool. Not everybody can use that though. So we're taking a look at. There also is a My Student Aid app. So you can do the FAFSA at studentaid.gov or on the app. Just be really careful when you're completing it because it is so consequential to the financial aid that you'll be offered. Now, what kind of information do you need to have ready to submit the FAFSA? You'll need to have a FSA ID, that's a Federal Student Aid ID, for the student and one of the parents. And either of you can sign in to do the FAFSA. There's just one FAFSA for each student, and a parent can log in to look at that FAFSA or create it themselves. But by the end, one parent and the student need to sign the FAFSA. And that can happen electronically with the FSA ID, or as I'm about to mention, it can happen by paper. Additionally, you should have tax information ready from the parent and the student. So again, 2019 information for the 2021 to 22 academic year. So that's going to be wages, adjusted gross income, taxes paid. Most of this information is on the IRS Form 1040. So just that little part of your tax packet probably has all the information you need, or at least most of it. Additionally, if you have an untaxed source of income, that may need to be reported as well. And then assets, it's going to ask for what's in your bank account today. Do you own a rental property? Things of that nature. But note that your retirement funds, if you've got one, or your primary house, those are not considered assets and don't factor into the FAFSA need calculation. Now, if you are a parent and you don't have a social security number, or if you're a student and your own parent does not have one, then you can still do the FAFSA as long as you, the student, have a social security number. Okay, so if your parent doesn't have one, then they enter all zeros on the FAFSA for their social security number. And just be careful. If the parent is a tax filer, they might have a PTIN, a parent tax identification number. That is not a social security number, so don't put that on the FAFSA. Now, the FAFSA is going to say there's an error. And so you just want to click check for errors 3 times. Click that, it's going to tell you there's an error, but eventually it'll let you go through and then you can continue with the FAFSA. There's a couple technical considerations with the FAFSA too. It can be kind of picky, so it works best on Mozilla Firefox or Internet Explorer if you have those on your computer. It doesn't work so good on Google Chrome or Apple Safari as of the date of this recording at least. So those browsers can cause some issues with the FAFSA. That might be frustrating. Good to have a stable internet connection if possible. And if you have trouble, it's good to just save, log out, log back in, hit reset basically, or try a different browser, different computer, or the My Student Aid app. Now here are some frequently asked questions about the FAFSA. How many schools can you put on the FAFSA? You can put up to 10 on the FAFSA at a time. So you can list that 10, and if you have more, basically what you do is you send the FAFSA with the first 10 schools, then you log back in, you remove those first 10 schools, and then you add the other schools you want to send it to, and you click send. So the FAFSA is not permanently attached to the schools that are listed on there. It just lines up which schools you're going to send it to, you click send, and it gets sent to them. Oftentimes people ask, when should I submit the FAFSA? Again, as soon as possible, but for the University of Oregon, our priority filing deadline is March 1st, so I would aim way before that. Now, who's considered a parent? This is a particular determination on the FAFSA, so I recommend taking a closer look at this chart or looking at it at studentaid.gov. So let's say that your parents are not married to each other and they don't live together. Then which parent did you spend more time with in the previous year? That's the parent you list on the FAFSA. If you live with your aunt and your aunt has not adopted you or is not your legal guardian, you don't list them as a parent on your FAFSA. So these things can be trickier than you might think. Check out this chart and check out the guidance on the FAFSA for some assistance. Now, how about some common errors? Be careful when you enter that social security number. This is when you're creating the FSA ID, that login information. It's got to be accurate. Check for date of birth, make sure that's an accurate number. Use the correct parent's information, as I mentioned. And with all of this, you really want to be checking what's on that Social Security card. So that is the record that the, the federal government has for your name, your Social Security number, your date of birth. Uh, you want to make sure it all matches. So if you're Daniel, but you go by Dan, don't put Dan in the FAFSA. It might create an issue. Okay. Like I said, we need signatures from both the parent and the student. Otherwise, that FAFSA is not official. Now, after submitting the FAFSA, you're going to get this student aid report, and it's going to give you some useful info. First of all, it's going to tell you that estimated family contribution, excuse me, the EFC. And that's a useful number because it gives the relative level of financial need as assessed by the FAFSA. And you can provide that number to any school you're interested in going to, or you could plug it in on the net price calculator on their website, and it'll give you an estimate of what kind of need-based financial aid you might be able to receive. And you can start to see what's unique at the various schools you're considering. Additionally, it'll tell you what kind of federal aid it thinks you're going to get. So you might see right off the bat that you're going to get free money from the federal government or a subsidized loan that doesn't accrue interest. So it can be useful to give you a sense of what's coming, but the school has the ability and responsibility to verify information on your FAFSA. So this is just a preliminary estimate. Now, applying for scholarships, once you've done the FAFSA or the ORSAA, note that some scholarships you'll automatically be considered for based on the FAFSA or the ORSAA, based on your admissions application, such as the coursework that you report, your GPA, things of that nature. But some scholarships are going to require a separate application. So where to look? Look what the colleges that you're applying to. Check out their financial aid website. Talk with somebody like me. See what kind of options are available and what you have to do by when. If you're an Oregonian, check with OSAC. That's the Office of Student Access and Completion. And they've got over 600 different scholarships that they operate or that they facilitate. So you can go on their website. It'll filter out the ones that you're most qualified for, and you can continue to apply. Check with your high school guidance counselor. If you're a high schooler, they're a great wealth of information about what's available in your school and in your community. Parents Workplace, they might offer one. Local and national businesses, churches and community organizations. Look in your community because if it's a small community especially, there's probably not a lot of people applying. So a lot of scholarship money goes unspoken for because people don't apply. Make sure you get that money that's sitting out there. And you can also do national search engines. We've got some recommendations on our website. The deadlines are going to vary, so put together a calendar of what's due when, what kind of information is needed for each essay. You might be able to recycle some of those essays, but just make sure you're addressing each prompt. And then, in your senior year especially, think of this as a part-time job. It's going to be one of the best paying part-time jobs you ever have if you apply for a lot of scholarships and do a good job. So after you've applied for aid, what comes next? Students, you're going to be getting emails. You're going to get them from the schools saying that the FAFSA was received. You're going to get them from the state of Oregon if you're an Oregonian to say, hey, you're going to be considered for Oregon aid. You're going to get emails from the financial aid offices at the schools that you've applied to, and they'll let you know if there's anything else that you need to do. And then you'll get a financial aid offer. Now at the University of Oregon, that's going to come around the beginning of April. That's when you'll know your full financial aid offer so you can make an informed decision about where you can afford to attend. Compare financial aid offers to find the best fit. Now this process repeats, like I said, every year you're going to do a FAFSA and you're going to do, or an ORSAA, excuse me, a FAFSA or an ORSAA. You're going to review that offer letter and submit documents to the aid office to finalize that information if needed. Accept that aid offer if you decide to go or if there's certain aspects of it that you want to accept, and then apply for scholarships. And that's really in the fall and the winter, especially on a traditional student schedule. So if you have any questions, please contact us. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone number is 541-346-3221. Send us an email at financialaid@uoregon.edu, and we'd be happy to answer all of your questions. Thank you so much for your attention, and go Ducks.